Hey, thanks for tuning in to a next episode of Community Voice PHL. Community Voice PHL is a talk show that highlights the value-based programs and services that people of color are doing across the nation and even right here locally in the tri-state area. We'll be bringing you people who are working to make a positive difference in their communities, inform you about things that are happening in the city, and have engaging interviews with amazing people who will inspire you to get involved with building caring and prosperous communities right here in the tri-state area and across the nation as well. So thanks again for listening to Community Voice PHL, a show that informs, engages, and inspires. So thanks again, and we want you to know that you can follow us on all social media platforms and check us out primarily on Instagram, which is at Community Voice PHL. And we're on Facebook right now, but again, we still having that little technical difficulty with getting ourselves out there on Facebook. Don't know what that situation is, but we'll get it straightened out. But when that is straightened out, our Facebook handle is Community Voice PHL. And if you want to send us an email to share with us what's happening in your community or about what things that's happening in your city, send us an email to communityvoicephl@gmail.com. Everything is just Community Voice PHL. We keep it simple like that. But again, Facebook's a little tricky for us right now. We're going to work that out. We might have to call Mark Zuckerberg or something. We're going to straighten that out. So anyway, also, if you want to check out some of our past episodes, go to our SoundCloud page, which is Community Voice PHL Talk Show. And you can get to listen to some of our past interviews with amazing people we interviewed throughout the past 3 years that we've been doing Community Voice PHL. So again, SoundCloud is Community Voice PHL Talk Show. You can check us out there. Today, we're excited. We have two dynamic guests on the show today. Rooted in the culture, we have Dagmar Mitchell and Dorothea Gamble, founders of Trunk Artisan Organization here in the Philadelphia area. But before we get to them, I just want to give a few shout outs real quick. And to make sure we get those shout outs proper, I want to put up the information on the board here. So I'm going to switch over and do that right now and put their information up. Boom. So what's next in Philly? The Reclaim Philadelphia will be having a citywide virtual event on December the 5th at 3 p.m. Reclaim Philly will be talking about all of the things that's going to really impact us locally and, of course, across the nation. Because of the election results, they're going to have a great live conversation. What's next? It's up to us. Reclaim Philadelphia citywide virtual event, December the 5th at 3 p.m. Go to Reclaim Philadelphia on Facebook for the additional details of how you can register and take part in that virtual event. And also the information is on the ticker below as well. And the holiday season is right up on us, and I know some of us are going to be trying to plan for that family dinner and trying to get that specific dessert. But hey, save yourself some trouble and save yourself some time and go to my good friends from the Furlough Cheesecake. They're doing a fantastic job with their bakery service that they have going on. So if you want a cheesecake, something delicious for your family dessert dinner, go to the Furlough Cake and get your dessert delivered by them to your family gathering or your own gathering if you're just gathering by yourself for the holiday season. But again, get that dessert going for you. The Furlough Cake, they do a fantastic job. Two friends of mine and two friends at the bar, so just doing a fantastic job. And I know people are tuning in. They're like, "Where's Jackie at? Where's Jackie at?" Jackie busy today, so Jackie's not with us today, but she'll definitely be back next episode, and she'll be able to share her insights and information. So send that love, send some emails as Jackie's off for today, but I'm going to be holding it down for the Community Voice PHL show today. And one last shout out I'm going to give is to my good friend, State Rep Joanna McClinton. She became the first Black woman as a PA House Minority Leader. So big shout out to my friend Joanna McClinton for becoming the first Black woman to be a PA House Minority Leader. She's doing some fantastic work up there in Harrisburg, PA, and even I guess it ripples across the nation. So I'm excited to give a shout out to my good friend Joanna McClinton. Keep doing the good work, and we're gonna get you on the show, Joanna, so you can share for all of our viewers and listeners all the great work that you're doing. So I wanted to give those shout outs before we get to our guests. So now let's get to our guests, because I don't want to have them wait. They've been definitely doing some great work, and I just definitely want to get to a good conversation with them. I had a chance to view their information, their website. I saw one of them interview segments that they did on another episode, another show. So I was excited to get an opportunity to reach out to them and bring them on the show. Again, Dagmar Mitchell and Dorothea Gamble, co-founders of Trunk. They're rooted in the culture, and they're doing big time in the arts scene in Philadelphia. Dagmar, Dorothea, welcome to Community Voice PHL.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. We're definitely excited to have you on the show. So, tell our listeners all about Trunk. I know that the name in and of itself, probably doesn't resonate with people. Like, what is Trunk? What is it about? But it's awesome and a fantastic thing that you're doing. So share with our viewers and listeners about Trunk and what it's all about.
You gonna do it?
No, I insist.
Okay, so Trunk is a retail location in Northern Liberties, Philadelphia, and we primarily focus on artisans in the Philadelphia area and surrounding areas. It's just not Philly, but it is mostly Philadelphia artisans. We concentrate on everything that's handmade. We want to focus on sustainability and being socially responsible. Our merchandise is perfect for your home. It's heirloom quality and it's functional. It's very beautiful. That's what we do. So we are Trunk, rooted in the cycle of life.
Cool.
Rooted in the cycle of life, absolutely. And we,
I like that. Rooted in the cycle of life. What got you into this space of curating the creative art that you had? Was it something that you always had a passion for, or was it like just you looking around and say, wow, this is something that really kind of resonates? And what got you into this? Because I know creatives have unique ways of finding that space that they do their work in.
Well, long time ago, way back before the wheel was invented. I had a couple of flower shops that I was in the military, and then I came out of the military and I opened up a flower shop. Then I opened up another flower shop. So I've always had that creative business aspect to my life. And then I met Dorothea and found that she also had this creative aspect to her, because she's really good at putting rooms together and very good at that interior design kind of thing. And I was very, very much impressed. And I said, I think we could probably go into business together, because she's always had that business aspect of it also, because she's managed a lot of stores. I think you managed
quite a few stores in surrounding areas, right. Like 30 plus years retail experience. But also, I grew up listening to jazz, because my father played jazz all the time. Plus, he was a cook and he was an artist, and everyone in my family can draw or do something creative. My mother was the first DIY person I think I ever met. She did every single thing that had to be done, as even hanging paneling and fixing plumbing.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like a do-it-yourself type of person, and we both work organically. And this is like a perfect, because when we grew up, everything was handmade. There was you didn't go to the mall. You went to the small shop down the street. You went to the record shop. You hung out there and listened to music, and somebody made clothing. You buy some shoes. So we've always been, at least me, I've always been surrounded by handmade creative. So this is like a natural thing for both of us.
It's a natural segue.
Okay, yeah, it definitely sounds like with the experience that you both have, it was something that just kind of melded together at this time for you to open up Trunk. And you said your mom put up paneling. I remember my stepdad, he put up paneling too. It was crazy.
Remember those days? I didn't
remember that. Like a flashback, like paneling.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
everything's
right.
moving sheetrock now, but
yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
So now that art that you're carrying is really the art that you're carrying at Trunk is really expressive, and it's purposefully presented in this way that's different. Talk about what's important to know and to have as you curate this specific type of art, because it's like you don't have like the everyday, so to speak, art. You really curate something that's purposeful and meaningful. It has a story behind it. So talk about the importance of the story and the reason why you decided to curate this unique and purposeful style of art.
Well, the art that's on the walls is, I choose that art based on the artist and how they make me feel before I even see their work. And a lot of the artists I met as customers that came into the shop and liked the shop, and we started talking. But basically, I meet the artist first, and then I see their work. Even if somebody's recommending an artist, I actually look at them before I look at their work, and basically their work inspires their art. And that's where the story comes from. And a lot of them are very young or different backgrounds, or don't really have anywhere to live right now, and they're living from place to place, and all of that is reflected in their work.
Or they're our age and older, because we have Mr.
We have a woman that's there. And we had Leroy Johnson, who's 87, and then we had Dinka Buchanan, who's 72 maybe. And she's from Harlem, and they had a bunch of history, and everything that they do is reflected in their work, and it's just innate. You can't even.
So it's like when you meet you say you meet the artist before you see their work. That's unique. I mean, because normally people be like, let me see what you did. So how does that work? As you meet somebody, they like, if they don't have a vibe, do you not look at their work? How does that?
Well, sort of. I just don't further the conversation. But if I enjoy the vibe, I say, well, let me see your work. Are you on Instagram? And then I'll stand there and pull it up with them. Mm-hmm. But if like I don't feel anything, or they don't have Instagram or Facebook, or they don't even have a reel, I just don't go any further with the conversation.
Got you. Is it because it's a way of finding out if they're really serious about their craft, or is it just a way of you just kind of vetting through how you want to present what's unique at Trump?
I think it's a little bit of both, the vetting process and the feeling process.
They have to be passionate.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're passionate about what we want to show, and we're passionate about the artists themselves. I mean, we've had like God said, we have
one artist.
That was almost by
complete accident.
Yeah, serendipitous. He came in one day and
I thought he was homeless.
Right. She thought he was a homeless guy.
Yes.
Ends up that he's an artist, and beautiful art that he sells that we have in the store. So it was, but again, it was a feeling. She talked with him, and he practically became her son.
I know, I love them. I love young artists. They're just so amazing to me because they're so passionate. Yeah. But even in the handcrafted functional items, you have to be passionate, and it has to be a connection. You have to want to do what you're doing. You have to love it. We want to sell your work. We want to make sure that your work gets into someone's home. That's the goal. And we want to help you make money as well as ourselves.
Yeah. See, I like that. I like the fact that you really kind of have a unique way of connecting to the artist in their work, because sometimes people will see the artwork, but never see the artist. And that makes the artist sometimes invisible. And even though their work is appreciated, it kind of takes a little bit away from who they are, because all they're appreciated is for their work. And not that they don't, right? But when you appreciate the artist and their work, wow, I mean, what you're doing, it's really amazing. It's really amazing.
And whenever we get whenever we're on any television show or we get interviewed, we always mention an artist, and we always, if possible, we have the artist there or we at least have their work in the background, because that's really what our whole passion is. We just want handmade in every single person's home.
And we also, it's interesting you use the word invisible. We talk about the invisible artists that we like to bring in, because there are a lot of times these artists aren't, they're not going to be seen, or they're not going to be out there. So that's who we want to get into the shop also. I mean, it would be nice to have, I can't think of an artist's name, but it would be nice
Basquiat?
to have Basquiat. Since we can't get him in there. But seriously, we do have a lot of artists that we've shown that wouldn't normally probably be out there.
Yes, and we've developed quite a few artisans that were hobbyists into making money.
Cool.
Because that's important also. Yeah.
I mean, because artists, remember the expression "starving artists"? I don't know if that's still like alive now, but and that's true. I think the artists, they do want to make money, but. And it's also an expression like the most time artists make money is after they're dead, right? But we don't want that, right? We want artists actually to live out the wealth of their work and their value. And it's just, wow, it's just amazing how you're giving an artist visibility on two levels, as a person and as a presenter of their work. And so that's amazing. And you mentioned, as far as like, even if someone's in transition of, being homeless and stuff like that, are there ways that you help and support those artists as well, as opposed to, just showing their work? Are there any type of transitional supports that you give to them?
Well, financially, we're not able to do that. But what I do, my darndest, we do our darndest, is try to sell a piece of their work that will help them.
Okay. And we have resources. I happen to be a therapist also, and therapist / social worker. So I have a lot of resources that we.
Discuss with
them and pass on to them. So while Dorothea she pretty much works in the shop all day long. I also work elsewhere, so that so that we can keep things going, because especially now, situation happening now and what happened before, it's important for that. So we have resources, and we also present those resources to people that may be having difficulties.
And plus, I tend to end up being everyone's mother.
I can tell you have that motherly.
And people confide in me, and I listen to them, and I try to give them motivating. If they, cool. When someone can verbally appreciate you, that's like $1 million.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, that, again, it just touches the humanity of people when you can just see them and value them. And then, of course, if they're gifted with their art, you support that as well. It really brings a level of wellness to them, mentally and emotionally space. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So when we're doing this art curation in the city of Philadelphia, how do we keep the art community of Philadelphia alive and thriving? I know with the pandemic, it may be a bit of a challenge, specifically with people coming to your location, but I did a virtual tour of you. It was on your website. So any of our viewers or listeners out there, go to Trunk's website. It's beautiful. And they have, pictures, so you can do a virtual tour. So how do we keep the art community alive and thriving in Philly?
Well, we're going to have to probably do it in a group setting, but in a virtual group setting. I think we have some people that, a group that we're having come to the space and, come to the
so what we're doing
is email, but
we're trying to reach out to people and introduce them to our site through word of mouth. Almost every single artist that we've actually carry is actually word of mouth. So and I happen to work at a museum as well, so I have a lot of connections there. But if I know an artist, and that artist knows an artist, and that artist knows an artist, and that artist knows an artist, that's how you do it. It's strictly word of mouth. I have tried to post on social media when I needed artists, no response.
Oh, wow.
No response. It has to be word of mouth and through recommendation.
Now, prior to that, we're having events, and we have a lot of events coming in. Every weekend we had events. So we have to sort of keep up with, how we're going to survive in this pandemic situation.
I guess like social media really doesn't work as much because artists are like unique in that space where, like you said, word of mouth resonates better. So it's kind of, interesting to hear you say that, because I know quite a few creative friends of mine who they really don't have a great social media following, but you look at their work and it's out there everywhere.
Right.
So, that word of mouth does travel.
Exactly. And especially if you're in a location and you sold something, you're going to tell another artist.
Yeah. That's definitely true. That's definitely true. So has the Black community been more expressive with their art? How do you view the Black community in art? Because Jacqueline Jordan, my wife, who co-hosts the show with me, she's a creative. She does a lot of spoken word, written and stage work, stage play work. So how does the Black community, in terms of creative work, express themselves through Trunk? Is it a collaborative effort, or how does that space work together?
Well, I would say it was a very collaborative effort when we did events, because our events were based on the makers or the artists. They would give the event in our space for free, and they would invite other artisans or other artists. And that's how we kept in communication with that community.
Okay.
It was strictly through events. It's very difficult with no events to do that now.
Right.
But as far as the community of artists and people of color, they are very expressive, but they're all different levels of art and work and creativity still in that medium.
Which we've learned. I mean, we've had everywhere from a canvas to what Dinga was doing, which was tie-dyed. She actually sat, because you still had a couple of events where they were in the window, and she was doing her her artist, or she was outside
on the sidewalk. We've
She was
had
out on the
events
sidewalk.
on the sidewalk since
Yeah.
COVID.
So, I mean, we've still been able to do a few things. A couple of times, there were some artists in the window, and they were creating their art while they were in the window during the pandemic. So, there's some things that we're still able to do, but we have to be real creative in how we're going to present and make money and stay alive.
And I think as a person of color in this in retail, I think that people of color really have to start to communicate with each other and to collaborate. Regardless of how big or small the level is, we really have to reach out to each other, support each other, even if it's on social media and just sharing one of their, tagging them, or they're posting something wonderful, repost it. We really have to get better as a community of doing that.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. That's why I'm glad you decided to be on our show, that said we can continue to promote and support you and the work that you're doing, because me and again my wife Jacqueline, we're heavy into the art scene and trying to make sure we keep our thumb on the pulse of ways we can continually support artists. As you can see in the background, a good friend of ours, for us. So
I was going to comment on that. Very nice. I like that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll let Dev know that you appreciated his work.
Absolutely.
And hopefully maybe he can, when it's safe, he can come by Trunk and you can get to meet him. And
absolutely.
Can you send me his info?
Yes, we'll definitely do that. We'll make the connect for you.
Don't forget. Very good.
Yeah, and see, one of the things I want to also talk about is that you mentioned like some of the artists. Has there been an artist who medium that just kind of surprised you, that like maybe outside of clay and canvas, was it like a certain medium that was like, wow, never saw that coming?
Well,
Original Distinct. Dwayne. This artist, Dwayne. He's a young guy. I just love him to death. His first piece of work that he showed me was on canvas, and it's amazing. Sold one of his pieces. I think we may have sold two of his pieces, large pieces. But then I looked on his Instagram, and he had furniture.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness. I couldn't believe it. He had furniture, textiles, clothing, everything. He's what, 26 or something?
Yeah, he's a baby.
He completely shocked me. Yeah. And the furniture is mid-century hand-painted furniture. Just amazing. Just amazing.
He did this himself, you're saying?
He did this himself.
Wow.
Yes, he's extremely talented.
Yeah, you should have him on your show too.
Really?
Original Distinct.
Yeah. And we have another young lady, well, actually the older woman that's 70 something. She is a canvas artist, but she also does quilts. I just knew her doing clothing because we carry a line of clothing for her. I went to her home. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. She has all this canvas and these huge 3-dimensional quilts. Wow. So yes, there's some mind-blowing things going on.
Yeah. So when you meet artists like that, is it like you kind of get the feeling like, what you doing? Get this stuff over here.
Right. Or where have you been all our lives?
That's my response. I'm like, can you bring that over? When can you put that in here? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And whenever you see an artist that tells you they're doing something and they bring the piece live, it's like Christmas. You can't even believe what you're looking at.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. You're like, what? You did this?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But see, that goes back to like what we were talking about earlier, where artists sometimes feel invisible and unseen, and they're busy perfecting their craft, but no one gets a chance to notice it because they're not the Basquiat's or the Renaissance artists that are being often portrayed, seen in our museums. But they're awesome creatives in our local area. Maybe right now. So.
And they're very passionate.
Very.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter. So what, I'm not being seen. No, so what, I'm not out there. I mean, it would be nice to be making money, but making more money. But that's how you know they're passionate, because I'm still doing what I'm doing because I love it.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. And talk about being passionate. Trunk has a reason and a cause for what they're doing, not to say that, presenting artists and sharing their work isn't important, but you're also sharing a portion of your proceeds to help support the Colored Girls Museum. Talk about your passion behind that and why supporting the Colored Girls Museum is important for you, and even important for our viewers and listeners to know about how they can help out as well.
Well, that whole thing, that collaboration was a happenstance. I met a ceramicist a couple years ago from the clay studio, and I saw her on the street, and she said, you know what, I have all these pieces I'd like to donate to you. And I'm like, okay, cool. I went to pick up the pieces. It was like 30 pieces. I couldn't believe it. Beautifully made bowls, just gorgeous. And when I got them, I came home and I said to Dagmar, she just gave us all this beautiful ceramics. we should donate a portion to the Color Girls Museum, because I had heard that they were having a struggle at the beginning of COVID because
Right.
it was no funding for culture. And I'm
Right.
like, how cool would that be? Because this is free. No matter what, we're going to make money, so we can just share some of the proceeds with the Color Girls Museum. And they're sort of in my age bracket. Their whole theme, what they represent, the fact that it's colored girls. That's like, I can relate to that. That's how that actually happened.
Yeah.
It's no deep thing.
Yeah.
We just decided to donate the money to them because worthy cause.
And after that, we'll find another
organization. Yeah,
to,
they're educational, they're museum, they're Black owned, women. I mean,
or women trying to start something up for women and children. So there's just a whole plethora of organizations that we want to donate our proceeds to.
So this is the first one.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's great that you do that, because the Color Girls Museum, it checks all the boxes of most disenfranchised people in our community. Black women, artists. You know what I mean? It checks all those boxes, and the fact that you can look to them and say, we want to support you, it's a great thing, and it's definitely something that again, me and my wife Jack, we're going to reach out and support them as well, because we want to make sure we're preserving the arts on every level. So that's deep and meaningful. But you said it just happened by happenstance. And
it was happenstance.
That's cool.
And they were the first person that came to my mind. Now, if anyone wants to buy anything, it's on our website. There's a link that says Color Girls, and there's still a few pieces left. If anyone's interested in buying some of those pieces, they're certainly welcome to go to trunk.net.
Cool. That's what's up. Now, I know that there's a lot of things that you have happening at the shop. Is there anything that you have that you want to share with our viewers and listeners right now about what's happening at Trunk and how they can support you, and the website information so that they can purchase some of those items?
Well, the holidays are coming up, so definitely please visit us at trunk.net. We have very unique gifts. We have unique items, and I always say, if unique is what you seek, then let's meet, right? So come to Trunk.
We do have an event coming up.
Okay.
So for Small Business Saturday, we're starting it on Friday. We have an artist that's going to be selling framed art prints on the sidewalk, so it's safe. The following day, we have a young violinist. He's awesome. He's going to play for about an hour, and then we have a woman who's selling framed prints. And the following day, we're going to have someone selling clothing on the street. So that's the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th. Small Business Weekend.
Yes.
Okay, so that whole weekend, you're gonna be shutting it down, doing your thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of it's safe. It's on the sidewalk. We have hand sanitizer will be out there. We'll be wearing face masks. But the entire street is going to participate, and there'll be a lot going on.
Cool. Well, we have your information in the ticker below, so they can follow you at least on Instagram. But where are you actually located? So in case someone wants to come by there and take part in that event, you can give them the address.
Yes, 929 North 2nd Street, Northern Liberties.
Okay. PA 19123.
There you go. Well, we greatly appreciate again you being on the show. Is there anything last shout outs you want to give or information you want to share before we end this segment with you?
No, just come on by. We're there. Please come visit us. We really look forward to.
And don't forget to support Small Business Saturday.
Right. Absolutely.
And for all the entrepreneurs that are out there, congratulations. Today is Entrepreneurs Day.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for mentioning that. I appreciate that. Yes, it is.
And thank you so much. We really appreciate you
really reaching out to us.
Really inviting us onto your show. It really means a lot to us.
Oh, well, thank you. It was a pleasure and honor to have you on the show. Me and Jack, we just saw your episode and was like, wow, we got to get them on because we love what you were doing. And again, we visited your website virtually. Didn't get a chance to go to the location yet, but we will. But we were honored to have you on the show. So thank you both. And
we love what you're doing.
Say it again.
And we love what you're doing.
Awesome.
The community voice.
Yes. I appreciate it. But again, thanks for being on the show. You'll be hearing from us and seeing us soon. We'll be going down in one of those days with the weekend that you mentioned. We're going to come down there, check it out, and continue to support you and continue to promote the great work that you're doing. So appreciate you being on Community Voice PHL. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So that was Dagmar and Dorothea, co-founders of Trump. We had them on Community Voice PHL, and they just did a fantastic job. We really appreciate everything that they're doing. And again, just be mindful to support them on that weekend that they mentioned, November the 26th, the 27th, 28th, all weekend long. They're doing some great stuff, having some great artists out there selling their creative work. And we want you to go out there and support them. Their information is still in the ticker below right there. So be sure to check them out. And as we put the information out, we're also going to have their address so that you can go down there and support them as well. But again, that was Dagmar Mitchell and Dorothea Gamble from Trump, just doing some great things in the art space. And we truly appreciate them being on Community Voice PHL. We're going to continue to stay connected to them and the work that they're doing. So with this segment, we're going to just take a few minutes to, talk about what's really real in our society right now. I mean, right now, what's recently happened in Philadelphia and even across most major cities across the nation, the pandemic has hit different turn. It's really real now. President-elect now, Joe Biden said we're in for a very dark winter ahead. And, I'm not the pessimistic type of guy, but I do believe that statement does resonate a bit, because there is a very dark winter ahead of us right now. Again, with the recent restrictions that Philadelphia has just put down, again, a lot of other major states have just put down because of the increase in COVID cases, and, even small increase also in some of the deaths. It's really, really, really now a challenging time, and we are most likely going to be in for a very dark winter. Particularly in the Black community, there's going to be increase in the loss of jobs. Students now on college and high school level and every level going back to homeschooling now. Work home issues are going to start to arise again. So, we're really into a challenging time, but we have to just keep in mind that there's also always going to be hope in the midst of any of these challenges. There's going to be a continued push now for the HERO Act. The HERO Act, it stalled in May. It's an act that Congress can push through and pass to provide $3 trillion worth of relief funds. And so we want to make sure that we look at how we can talk to our local legislators and make sure that we can get some advocacy to make sure that these funds, these HERO funds, this HERO Act, get supported and get passed through, because again, we're going to need that relief, because there's going to be a lot of job loss. And in Pennsylvania in particular, earlier this year, there was 1.5 million jobs that were lost. It's 1.5 million. And this was early in the year, and some of those numbers may have even increased. And at that time, that was 23% of the workforce in the state of Pennsylvania. So that was devastating. So you can imagine now how people are feeling. They're feeling gripped. They're feeling challenged that, once again, this shutdown may lead to additional job loss and additional setbacks. And, in Pennsylvania, again, the national unemployment rate is at 6.9%. But now in Pennsylvania, the unemployment rate is at 8.1. And at one time in September, it was at 10.3. So again, now with these new restrictions coming down, the case is still increasing. It may present itself to be challenging. And how do we navigate through this? And it's going to affect the Black community in large proportions because of the disparity and the lack of opportunities and all those disenfranchised things that often happens to Black communities. But we have to look at as though, how do we get through this? How do we collectively look at how we can sustain ourselves and empower ourselves to continually grow and thrive and become better in this space, and really get through this second wave of the pandemic? Self-care and healthcare is going to be vital. We have to make sure that we can get the support that we need. If we need therapy, we need to seek that. If we need to, virtually, of course, to do that. If we need to talk to a family member or friend, make sure we do that. Because with social distancing, we may not, of course, be able to be physically in their presence, but we can still reach out, online, phone call, text message, or whatever electronic or virtual platform that we can use. But we need to make sure we can embrace that. Because throughout this time of year, I should say, there's a lot of seasonal disorders, if you will, that people will get, the depression, anxiety, just for the season itself. But now compound that with the pandemic and these other restrictions, we need to make sure that we can keep in touch with those loved ones, those family members, those friends who we know may be struggling, that we can support some kind of way. Because this may end up being a very dark winter, but there's always still that light ahead if we as a community can continue to be there and support and encourage one another. Now, with the virtual situation that we're in, as far as, you know, the learning and so forth, it may also spill over into how we do our holidays, right? We may have to end up doing our holidays virtually. The holidays may be upon us. We may be gathering with our families normally, right? But we probably won't be able to do that this year. And that can be, again, another level of anxiety, another level of, you know, angst that may be placed upon us. But we can still reach out and do that, because that's still meaningful in and of itself. So we may have to take our normal gatherings on a regular basis now to the virtual platform for the holiday season. But also just take very caution and take very care to be due diligent with your safety. The shutdown in Philadelphia, the recent restrictions, I should say, in Philadelphia, not a shutdown, but the recent restrictions in Philadelphia isn't happening across the state. The Secretary of Health in Pennsylvania said that he has no plans of going to a complete shutdown, just letting every county, every city, every area handle the way that they have their restrictions on their own. Since the virus has no boundaries, they can let those people in those communities, those states, those mayors, those elected officials do what they need to do to put in restrictions. But they have no plans across the board in Pennsylvania to go to a total shutdown. So that's a bit of hope to know that they are looking at it in a more strategic way, as opposed to a blanket brush straight across. But again, we have to be mindful of how we are going to get through this, because it could be, again, a very, very dark winter if we don't take these cautions and look forward to how we can really get through. One of the things that's kind of providing hope for a lot of people is the fact that there will be a vaccine coming out soon. Moderna has their vaccine, coronavirus vaccine. It's at 94.5% effective rate. And I know for myself, again, being sometimes cynical but sometimes honest, is just that 94.5%. Is that good enough? And I know in the medical profession or any science or any reality that asking for 100% may not be what was going to be accepted. So is 94.5% effective enough? By the experts, obviously it is, because they're looking to have it go forth and be distributed. But even with it being 94.5% effective, and those in charge and understand how to do that believe it's effective enough to start disseminating, it still won't be available until the spring of 2021. That puts us again through this very, very dark winter. But that then again is hope. But then even with that hope of the vaccine, even though we know that, again, 94.5% effective, but it won't be available till the spring, how not only safe will it be, but how will it be distributed, into whom, into how fast? Dare to say I'm going to be monitoring and eyeballing myself and seeing how quick it comes to the Black community, and how much of that 5.5% that's not effective will hurt the Black community. So I'm really going to keep my eye on that. And I know that there will be some talk of, when the vaccine comes out, will it be mandatory across the board in some states, or will it be mandatorily put in play by President-elect? Who knows, right? Will it be mandatory to be put in place by some places of employment? Because that's really, again, the challenging thing, because I know, again, we want to be safe. We want to be mindful. We want to be able to take control and understand how to, get over and survive the pandemic. But then there are a lot of people who have their own values and beliefs and an understanding of, what they would like to do in terms of their health and wellness, right? They may feel as though they don't want to take the vaccine, right? But what happens if it becomes mandated? Like, if your place of employment says you have to, what if, again, it becomes law in your county or state, and yet you feel as though you don't want to? That's kind of a rub of a challenge. That's something we have to really think about, because I'm not saying that the vaccine shouldn't be created, because I know that it will be helpful to millions of people. And I know it will be able to save even more millions of lives, right? But then again, I just want to speak openly and honest, because there are some people who have their reasons and angst, and whether it's conspiracy theory, whether it's because they believe that it's sort of like the Tuskegee experiment, where they, gave a disease to Black men and even Black women, believe it or not, right? So is it something like that that a lot of people believe? A lot of people are skeptical about that. But if it becomes mandatory, what happens? What happens? How do we handle that? Because these are some of the challenges that we're going to soon be facing as we try to, as a nation, we work towards as a nation, I should say, to overcome the coronavirus and COVID-19. I know myself, honestly, I am in a position where I'm going to be open and honest. I would not take the virus, but that's, again, my personal belief and my understanding of how I believe I can be able to deal with coping, get over the virus, and making sure that nothing happens to me or my family, my loved ones. So if you're someone such as myself who does not want to take the virus, or believe in a vaccine, I should say, does not want to take the vaccine, but I would implore you and encourage you, because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take every precaution to, wear my mask, to keep social distance, to hand sanitize, and to make sure I do everything that I can to make sure that not only am I safe, but those who are around me are safe, my loved ones, my friends, and those in my social circle. So if you are one of those who are going to say, "No, I'm not going to take the vaccine," be mindful to take every measure of safety if you are not. Let's not be someone who says you don't want to take the vaccine and then don't follow any of the safety guidelines either. I think that right there is irresponsible. Irresponsible in many levels, because not just for yourself, but then for others who are around you. Because again, I get it. There are some people who say, they don't want to take the vaccine for various reasons. But if one of those reasons is what you truly believe, then truly believe in the value and humanity of others, and take those same precautions as well, to always wear your mask, always keep social distance, hand sanitize, and any other safety and healthcare measure. So I understand it can be challenging, especially, if it is pushed to being something that's mandated. You have to be mindful of that, because again, as President-elect Biden says, we may be in for a dark winter ahead. And even if we are in for a dark winter, there's still light at the end of every tunnel. There's still opportunity of hope around every situation. So even though we may be facing those dark days in this dark winter, we can still be able to be warm with the embrace of the hope of the future. So just wanted to share that with you as we wrap up this episode of Community Voice PHL. Again, because here in Philadelphia, they put in place additional restrictions, and it really put, kind of a hesitation and halt to a lot of things that people were doing in every space throughout the city. But yet again, we can still get through if we understand the hope that's ahead of us, if we take care of ourselves mentally, physically, in a lot of regards, safety, social distancing, hand sanitizing, wearing our mask, and all those proper steps, and making sure that if we are understanding how to do this, we can be able to get through it together. So again, just wanted to share that with you, because then there's always the bright hope of embracing a future, even in this time of having what would be a very dark winter. But we can get through it. I believe that we can. So again, thanks for listening to this episode of Community Voice. So next week's episode, we're going to have Linda Smith from Linda's Vegetarian Village talking about some good food and good eating. So I hope you'll be able to tune in to that episode and check us out then, have another exciting guest on. And again, if you want to follow us on social media, our Instagram is @CommunityVoicePHL, and our Facebook, like again I said, we have a little bit of Facebook technical challenges there, but our Facebook, once we get it established, is Community Voice PHL as well. And if you want to send us an email or any feedback about this episode, or anything that's happened in your community, or someone you think would be great to be a guest on our show, send us an email to communityvoicephl@gmail.com. And again, if you want to just check us out on SoundCloud, check out this episode, previous episodes. And if you want to listen to this episode again on the playback, check us out on SoundCloud at Community Voice PHL Talk Show. That's our SoundCloud page. And again, on behalf of Jacqueline Jordan, I'm Jeff Jones, about to sign off for Community Voice PHL. Thanks again for listening. And as always, we appreciate your support. So we hope that you'll be able to tune in next week to our next episode with Linda Smith from Linda's Vegetarian Village, as we talk about good food and good eating. So that's all the time we have. And remember, if it's happening in your community, we need to hear your voice. Peace.